What I'm really hoping for is that in the finale and then after the final rose, we get to see a side of Clayton where we see more of the story. I don't agree with the scrutiny that Clayton is getting for the intimacy he had in the fantasy suite. I think he's entitled to have, this is a journey and he is allowed to go through this process whatever way he sees fit. And I also think that Susie's entitled to say, this is my line in the sand from what I want out of someone. I don't have a problem with either of those.
Correct.
But from what we saw, I wouldn't endorse his reaction. I didn't love the way he handled his reaction. Now, every person walking this planet above the age of 18 has been in a position of distress in an emotional state where they have probably not handled themselves the way they wish they did. And that is life. And what I'm really hoping for is that in the finale and then after the final rose, we get to see a side of Clayton where we see more of the story, because I think there's more of the story that needs to unfold before we immediately start judging. And then we could see Clayton take ownership for the fact that I didn't handle that the best way, but here's why. Here's what my learning experience was. What's crazy about the show is it doesn't matter how terrible your experience was or how pleasant your experience was. Every person who goes through this show comes out learning something more about themselves and usually has grown as an individual. Almost every one of them, every person, myself included. And I got to know Clayton just a little bit before the season, and he seems like such a great guy. And I'm hoping that this becomes a learning experience for him and he finds his happiness. So let's see. I would say Kaitlyn and I have had some shared differences in our opinions.
Okay.
But here's the thing. Here's the difference. I never walked in the shoes as a lead. Kaitlyn has walked in the shoes as a lead.
Right.
And the experiences between being a lead and being cast are night and day. And so there's things from Kaitlyn's podcast and her interview with Clayton that she gives perspective to that not even me, only being a cast member, would have insight into. I think Susie or Gabby, my guess is that Susie or Gabby is the next Bachelorette. That's my prediction. I think I would like to see Shanae and Genevieve there. And all of a sudden, Aaron Clancy was like the number one talked about thing at the Women Tell All. So I think it's only appropriate that Aaron Clancy is down at that beach. I tweeted about this. And I think, I don't have the tweet in front of me, so I can't say it verbatim. But I think one of the best and most unique things about Kaitlyn as a host is she doesn't follow the script to what we are used to seeing from hosts, right? Kaitlyn, when Kaitlyn's feeling a certain way, she says it her way. And I think it would have been nice to have her out there to keep people in check, especially with some of the body shaming that was happening. Some of these conversations are occurring and we're all thinking, what is going on? And to think that there could be someone right there like Kaitlyn who could voice the viewer's perspective would be just fascinating. And we live in a time that the appetite for that is becoming more and more, and I would have loved to see it. I would have just loved if she was even next to me to hear her commentary. Unfortunately, she's still on Dancing with the Stars, so I think she would have done a great job, just like she did an unbelievable job at After the Final Rose for the last season in which she hosted herself. Yeah, so there is a chapter all about re-examining where you live and why. And there's 3 grades you need to give where you live. What type of financial impact it has on your life, what type of personal value it has on your life, and what type of professional value it has on your life. When I lived in Seattle, financially, it was about a 2 out of 10 because of the expense and cost of living adjustments. And in this book, there's cost of living adjustment calculators, there's cost of living adjustment breakdowns where you can go to actually consider where you should live and why. And there's reference to like all the top lists of top 10 lists for singles, top 10 lists for people in tech, etc. So you have to think about where you're at. Seattle, financially, it wasn't the best place. Professionally, it wasn't the best place because it's a hub for tech. And personally, I didn't know one person in Seattle, Washington. So really understanding the value of those 3 things is critical in where you live and why. But if you're comfortable with where you live, let's not forget we live in a virtual world now. You can get rates at all-time highs, especially if you live in a lower cost of living market, by applying to companies that are headquartered in the big cities, because they are now outsourcing a lot of that talent to smaller cities because they can get better value, you can get paid better, and as a result of it, you can still say where you're personally happy. So rethinking where you live, though, is a critical part, and it is a chapter in the book. So this is a big one, and this is a big one because only 37% of people in their entire career negotiate for themselves. I'm not talking monthly, I'm not talking biannually, annually, 37% of people in their entire career. And because there is, it's so terrible. There's a gender gap right now in what people are being paid. And that needs to be solved. So if you look at all of research right now, if a female and a male are asking for the same raise, it's likely that the male will get it and be paid more. And that needs to end, and it needs to end immediately. So some quick tactics. 1, you have to know what success looks like in the eyes of who you are speaking to, right? What is successful to them is the value you need to demonstrate. The second tip I'm going to give is you need to talk to your peers and competitors about what they make. In the office, it is a no-no. People will tell you you shouldn't talk about what you make. They tell you that because it gives you more information as an employee. You need more information to utilize that in your negotiating. The last tip I'll give you, go call recruiters, go call your competitors, go call your associations, have a really good understanding of what people are being paid for the exact value, experience, and output you have, and you can leverage that and negotiate for yourself. And I'll give you one really good Bachelor story here too. There was, when we were interviewing for The Bachelor, it was between Blake, Colton, myself, and I tell a really good story that I've learned and will hold on for when I really think about how I negotiate and how I go into pitches, that Colton absolutely crushed it in his interview. But the full story's in the book. You got to pre-order a copy.